Okay, getting situated here. Looks like we're live and up and running. Okay, guys, good afternoon to you on this Sunday the 7th. Got an interesting video to show you today because unlike what we've been seeing for the last week or so on the model runs, we are starting to see an indication that there could be something more wintry developing, at least according to the GFS, and it has some backing. If you take a look at the models from the Canadian, the European model still is not on board right now, and I don't believe the new version GFS 16 has jumped on board as well. However, we'll take a look now, and I'm just updating now, and as usual, we'll start off with the radar here, and as you can see, nothing going. You're still getting that cold wind off the lakes. However, today is quite a bit warmer than yesterday, about 10 degrees or so warmer. About 5 degrees or so warmer than yesterday, and then tomorrow will be about 10 to 12 degrees warmer than today. So the temperatures are gonna be very nice for the next 2 or 3 days, and each day will be a little bit warmer than the previous day. But as you can see, there's absolutely nothing of note right now, precipitation-wise. If you look outside, abundant sunshine, and that's how it's going to be pretty much for the next 3 days. Now, the moment everyone's been talking about, we've been hearing a lot of chatter, both from people messaging us and other people telling us that they're hearing this and that from this source, from that source. So we wanted to give you guys a heads up and show you what they're seeing, what we're seeing, and why we think, what may or may not happen is going to happen. So we're going to open this up here with the European model. So we'll take a look here. Now this is up to date. This is on the 7th here, so today. And we'll put this into motion a little bit here. As you can see, this cold high is still locked into place. So because we have a cold high locked into place, you're getting these clockwise winds around, and you're still getting some very cold air blowing in. That's why it's only going to be in the low 30s again today. However, once this high moves on out, which it will be doing by tomorrow, as you can see now we're into Monday, and the high pressure, again, the air still rotating clockwise around the high pressure, but now it's coming from the south. So that southerly wind is going to help the temperatures go up quite a bit. And tomorrow we should be touching upper 40s, low 50s, and then even nicer on Tuesday. So definitely going to be much nicer next couple of days. Take a look here. The high is still locked in place. You're still getting that southwest flow and very warm conditions. And this is going to go on all the way through Wednesday. It will be warmer than normal. Thursday. And then we get this frontal system that begins to move through here. As you can see here, cold front moves through here a little. It doesn't look like it has much precipitation with it, so I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of that. And then what you'll start to notice here, and all the models are showing the same thing here. So again, the air is still, the temperatures are still going to be warm, and you're going to have this boundary layer set up right about here in this general area, give or take, north or south, a little bit in that general area. And along that boundary, you're going to have storms, rain, initially when it's warmer, start to form along that boundary. You can see it's still along this boundary. Now, the European look here has a storm coming in. Now, this is the 16th. This is slower than the GFS right now. And also, if you look, you'll see there's a high pressure here to our south, which is going to, according to the European model, it's going to bring moisture in from the south, and you're going to get a warm look to this storm. There's nothing locking in any cold air to the north, And according to the GFS, this continues, and a little bit of colder air infuses here as some of this air wraps in around this low. A little bit of cold air infuses in western Pennsylvania, and they get some mixing. A little cooler here again with this low pressure locked into the lakes here. A little more cooler air there. And the European model is not overly excited about this at all right now. However, we'll take a look at a model that is excited about this. This is the GFS model. And this has been trending this way. So I know the last time we spoke, was explaining how the GFS model showed a storm, then backed off again. Well, it's showing a storm again. And I'll show you exactly what it's seeing. So same look here, low pressure to the south now. Warming temperatures Monday. We're into Tuesday, Wednesday now. So we're getting through to that cold front here. That weak front should be moving through sometime Thursday or Friday. Again, not a whole lot going on with it, but this is what we were talking about now. So again, this boundary forming here again. So this is important here on the GFS model. And if you take a look, you have this high up here. And around this high, you're starting to get some cooler air. And this could be important. Because as we move ahead here, the boundary stays set here. And now look where this high moved to. So now, that's not what I wanted. There we go. So now, according to the GFS model, this high pressure now has set up in a familiar place that we've seen a couple times this year when we had decent storms. And it's setting up now to the north of us. This is the 13th now. So we move ahead in time here. That high doesn't go anywhere. 13th. This is all marginal air, so it most likely rain. 13th, 14th, it's going to be too warm. This high pressure is still here, still bringing in that colder air and wedging it a little bit. Now we're on the 14th. Now, if you notice, you have this storm moving in, and because of that boundary setup, you have overriding precipitation along this boundary. And that's going to be the case for several days. Get like an actual, basically a line of thunderstorms moving out ahead here. But what I want to focus on is the overriding cold air that you're going to see moving into the area. And this could be a big thing. And I'll tell you why this could be important. Because along this boundary again, if the European model is right and this high is not there, it's going to be all rain, no big deal, nothing to worry about. If the European model is wrong and the GFS is right, and you have that high locking in this colder air, now you have a battleground. And there could be something there. Because all this precipitation is going to ride up and over the low, moving into the area here, coming in from the Gulf, it has to go somewhere. And if this precipitation that wraps around this low and feeds in here, if this winds up hitting a cold wedge, let's just show you what could happen. So this is what the GFS believes is going to happen. Out ahead of this, snow breaks out. Mixing here. Heavy rain, possibly even thunderstorms. Transition back here. Freezing rain. Mixed precipitation. Snow and heavy snow. Take a look now. This area pushes in here. Now, do take note, the 540 line is well to the north here. We always use the 540 line as kind of the, that could be where the rain snow line is, but it's not a definite thing. And if enough cold air is wedged in here, which it looks like, according to the GFS, that's going to be a possibility. And if enough cold air is wedged in there, the opportunity exists for a storm. And you can see this front end of the storm Take a look. That's quite a bit of snow there. Some heavier snow. And as a matter of fact, if you take a look at these purple areas here, that's heavy snow. That's that 2-3 inch an hour type snow. So again, this is just the GFS's interpretation of things, and then the storm just kind of moves offshore. But it is 8 days, 7-8 days out. But it's something to watch because this could be very, very interesting for the next several days. And if you notice here too, the 540 line drops to the south. So if the GFS plays out, if it plays out anywhere near the way the GFS is anticipating, let's get a different color here. Let's get a color that's going to show up here. Well, let's go with purple. Yeah, we'll go with the purple. Anybody from any part of this area to the north, so to this general area, you need to keep a close eye on this, and we'll keep you up to date on what's going on, because this is an area where if things play out the way the GFS shows, you could be in a situation where there's a snow possibility. How much? Who knows? It's too early to guess that. But if you look at some of the models, or some of the, you guys know, I'll say this again and again, I hate snow maps, but we're going to use it as a tool like we do often. So using a snow map as a tool, this is what the model's interpretation of how much precipitation could fall. And this is important. Why? Take a look. Let's zoom in, as a matter of fact, to show you what we're talking about here. So we're going to zoom in on the mid-Atlantic area, and you guys will be able to get a better idea what the GFS is seeing. So that would be a significant snowfall should this play out like this, and not something that we've seen after the 15th of March in a very long time. This is extremely rare. Up to this point, I'm not going to call this a likely thing yet, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. As I said before, if you're anywhere in this general vicinity in the state, there's a good chance, if this would play out, that you could be in some of the heavier precipitation areas. I'm not saying you're going to see 19 inches of snow or 16 inches of snow or even 8 inches. I'm not saying anything. This is just showing where they see the majority of the heavier snow according to this model. If this should come to pass, and obviously the area inside this circle, the heaviest of all, with the bullseye being somewhere around here. This is according to the GFS. And if you hover over, you're looking, according to the GFS, 18, 20, 22, 21, 20, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area, 10, 6, 8, 12. It all depends. So, again, I don't like snow maps. I only use them for a tool, but that's what the GFS is showing us right now. So the version 16 GFS, we've used this a couple times this year, and it's been very accurate. So this is the 7th, 8th. Everything seems to be pretty much in agreement up to this point. The version 16 has a different idea of the storm than the GFS does. As you can see, the version 16, for some reason, it does see a storm. It sees a fairly significant storm, but it pushes it into the lakes with a 989 low. Don't know if this is, I don't know how accurate this is, but I'll tell you the big difference right now between the version 16 GFS and the operational GFS, the regular GFS. This has the high to the south, just like the European model did, as opposed to the high to the north. That would make all the difference here. High sits up here, forget about it. Don't even think it. We won't get snow at all. High sits up here, suppresses the storm to the south. Storm moves in this direction. Storm. That's the way it'll be. The high pressure will make the determination here on what's going to happen. So taking a look at the upper atmosphere, and let's see what's changed now in the last couple of days. I know I didn't make a video yesterday. However, let's take a look now. We're going to go back to the 4th. So we're going back a few days here. This is that cold air, what you're seeing now, what's left of it. And this is going to lift on out of here. So it's beginning to lift down out today, and then this big dominant ridge is moving in. And this is why our temperatures Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be beautiful. Beautiful, dominant ridge. You have your troughing button. You have your troughing out west. And you're ridging to the east. And that's our pattern there that will be in place for several days. See, we're up into Friday now, same pattern. Saturday, same pattern. And now we're on the 13th. So what's the GFS seeing here? Well, remember we told you a couple days ago about how we're not saying winter's over, but if something happens, it has to thread the needle. Well, this is what we're talking about. So let me show you what we're talking about with threading the needle. So right here, you got ridging in the east. You got ridging to the north here. There's your needle. That's where you have to thread through. And this will move a little bit further south. Here's your storm. So primary northern jet running this way. Here's your storm kind of by itself. Kind of breaks away, and the storm is sort of by itself here. And depends which direction it goes. Should this storm move into the lakes, like the GFS version 16 says, no snow for us. If this storm decides to meander in this general direction, with the high pressure down to the south, like the European model says, it's going to be no snow for us. However, if it does what the GFS shows here and threads that needle, there's your needle hole right here. This is your opportunity here to squeeze a storm through there. And the GFS believes that that's going to happen. The storm squeezes through that hole. And maybe we get some snow. Maybe more than we are expecting. And then a second, more pronounced load down to the south here, that moves in towards the end of the month. And that could do something. We don't know. This is the 21st. It'll be interesting to see what this decides to do. If this continues to be progressive, move off to the south, or does this take a flatter look? Or a more northerly look? Yet to be seen. However, it looks like from the 14th to the 21st or 15th, somewhere in that range, 14th to the 21st or so, we might see a swing back from what we were just looking at for the last couple weeks to a colder, snowier look. So the weather has been very bipolar this month, and that's just kind of been the theme. This is the Canadian model. Model's a little bit grainier, but we're gonna take a look. I'll go region. I can't go regional. We're gonna stay national then, and I'll show you what this model has been saying. These are in 12-hour increments, by the way. So we're on the 11th here. That cold front moves through. Boundary level sets up 14th. And if you look, colder look. High pressure to the north, low to the south, thread the needle. That's what this is showing. This is a little bit further south than the GFS, but it's not a miss. This would still graze the area, and if this moves any further to the north, hit the area. So I would consider the Canadian model right now to be supporting the GFS model, which would give you 2 out of your big 3 models right now that are suggesting a storm is more likely than not, and the high pressure will be locked to the north as opposed to to the south. Something to keep an eye on. So the Climate Prediction Center now, for the 6 to 10 day time frame, so you're talking the 12th to the 16th, that's the 6th day, 6 through 10, warmer than average temperatures here, at least a 50% chance, 50 to 60. But look what happens here. We have a change here. A change occurs here around day 14 of at least 30 to 50% chance, depending on where you're at. Average that around 40% chance of colder than average temperatures from the 14th to the 21st. It's important. You're going to need colder than average temperatures for a storm, for sure. There's no other way around it this time of year. Something to look at. Precipitation, same time frame. Most likely dry early on from the 12th to the 16th. And then, very similar look, about 50%. So there is an opportunity here, guys. I want that to be made known. Let's take a look at the MJO. Now, if the polar vortex and blocking in the North Atlantic aren't the drivers or aren't the big players to determine whether you're going to get wintry weather or not, the MJO is oftentimes a good way to, it's a good teleconnection to be able to let you know that you're going to get some stormy weather or some snowy weather, especially in the winter months. So what we have here, the small red circle here in the middle here, this is known as the origin, otherwise known as the term we like to use is the circle of death. If your signal is inside of the circle of death, then the tropical forcing does not interfere or does not affect or influence weather at all, generally speaking. You're not getting an influence from the tropical Pacific Ocean that is influencing your weather. Now, you don't need to have that tropical connection to have wintry weather. If your Arctic Oscillation or your NAO or your PNA, your other teleconnections can make a difference here. You don't need to have this tropical forcing. However, in situations where you get more snow, where you get a better chance of snow, and you do have these teleconnections set up, for example, in section 7 here, that's a very unstraight line, sorry guys, line's all crooked, still crooked, but whatever. Phase 7 is a cold look. Phase 8 is a cold look. Phase 1 is a cold look. We spent almost the whole month of February. So we started here, we danced around 6, had our big storm right here. And from that moment on, we headed into Phase 7, and we stayed there the whole month of February, eventually collapsing when the pattern broke down, when we stopped getting snow, collapsed into the origin, and that was that. And we were just sitting in the circle of death. Well, what are we seeing now? You're starting to see this is day 1, Feb 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Look which direction we're heading now. We're still in the circle of death, but we're heading into this general area, 8-1. And I can show you why we think that, because we actually have the forecast for the Madden-Julian oscillation right here. I don't know how well you can see that, guys. And so all these spaghetti lines are different runs the models are doing. These are ensemble runs. So you combine all of these runs, all these ensembles, all these different runs, and you go to the minimum of all these runs. And when you do that, you find this green line here they're indicating, and this is what they're predicting based on that. This is the mean. You could be as far out as here, Anywhere within this area is possible because the model is showing it. This brown area here is where the vast majority of the runs are indicating. And then this, of course, is dead center. This shows us moving, at least for the next several days, into phase 8 or 7. Or 1, sorry. Either slightly into phase 8, if we move this way, we'll be into phase 8. If we continue into phase 1, or simply moving out of the origin into phase 1, cold look. Because it's a cold look, we have to consider the possibility that somewhere in this general vicinity, you could potentially see a winter storm. The second half of the month is going to be colder than the first half by the looks of it right now, in general. So with that in mind, I'm going to go back to the GFS again because I definitely want this noted and I want this to be considered. Now, again, this is a snowfall map. I don't like snowfall maps, but people like visual representations of where they think, where they think something might happen at. And this is what we're seeing as of right now on the GFS. If there is a storm, if something does come in on that 15-16 time frame, the areas most likely to be affected are within this circle here. So guys, stay tuned. We're going to keep you updated. We're going to go live later on today on the actual Facebook group and talk a little bit more about this. And if the models continue to trend this way, we'll start to get a little more confidence that maybe this is going to actually be a thing and not just something that a couple models spit out. Let's go back a couple runs here. We'll go back to this morning. This is what it looked like this morning. Central PA. That was this morning's run. Let's go back to last night, overnight, midnight run. This is back what we were talking about yesterday. Total miss. We'll go back one run before that. Slight hit to the north. Hard hit upstate New York. Miss. Mostly a miss for us. So we don't have strong consensus yet, but the models have gone back and forth and the ensembles have agreed at least as far as there's going to be a possibility here for a storm. So let's see here. I'm going to answer a couple questions. So Justin says, I hope the Philly area gets one last good one. It's a possibility, Justin. I think Philly's still on the table. I don't think you're completely out of the woods. So it depends on how these next couple model runs come in and if this continues to trend in this general direction. Kelly says, here's a funny thought. My anniversary is on the 17th. My luck there would be snow. Kelly, it's possible. I think the snow would be out by the 16th, most likely. So the 17th should be fine. But it is a possibility. It's still on the table. So guys, stay tuned to us. We're going to do the best that we can to keep you guys up to date. You will know everything as soon as we do. And again, we're going to try to go live today around 5:30 or so. If I can get Mikey on there, we'll talk on the actual Facebook page, not the YouTube stream, and we'll chat about what we think moving forward with this potential storm for the middle of the month, around the 15th. So guys, thank you for listening. The local forecast will be put up in a couple of minutes for the next 5 days. And Pete, I saw posted this morning, which I appreciate because I wasn't able to get on. So guys, have a wonderful day. This is Scott from NEPA Storm Chasers. Take it easy.